Week 5 is underway. We got the waiver wire ads and trade talk. Is CJ Stroud a weekly starter? Are we actually to that point? Let's find out right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Sky Guasco. You can find me on Twitter at SKYGUASCO. And of course, I'm with my man, Matty Stiles, Stiles08. Make sure to subscribe everywhere you got the podcast and the YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the bell, leave a comment on your favorite waiver wire ad and trade targets. We're a month into the season. We have a lot of trades that have already gone down in our leagues. We have some trades that just haven't happened yet, and maybe it's good. Sometimes I offer up somebody for a trade thinking I'm getting the right deal. Somebody denies it. The weeks go by. I actually say, oh, you know what? I'm kind of glad they didn't accept that trade because it worked out best in my way. So be careful out there. But, of course, every single Tuesday morning, you can catch Matt Stiles' article for waiver wires. Last week, we had record-breaking affiliation with the article itself. I believe it was 88 comments. We'll fact check that here in just a second.
But 92.
92, excuse me. 92 comments on the waiver wire ad from Matty Stiles on football.razzball.com. And, of course, Wednesday mornings, you can catch my articles as well, which is specifically trade talks. But on this episode, we give you both of them. We'll give you waiver wires pickups for week 5 heading into tonight and tomorrow morning. And then, of course, trades for the rest of the week. Before we get into that, of course, I want to welcome in my man, Matt Stiles. And Matt, I was on last night stepping in for Bob, talking to Gladys and Derek, and I asked them, so I'm going to ask you, we're a month into the season. We're 4 weeks in already, the first quarter, if you will, of the fantasy football season, NFL season. I'm curious for you, what is maybe one or two major mentality shifts, takeaways, maybe a pat on your back, right? Humble brag, if you will, or maybe what's one regret through the first 4 weeks of the season so far?
I'm not going to go too deep into saying that I pumped up Puka and Nico Collins in the offseason. I've got plenty of time to ride that horse, right? So I'll put that in my back pocket if I need it later. I will tell you that I had a wonderful draft in one of my home leagues, and I'm normally a wide receiver guy. Drafted out of the 8th spot, Bijan Robinson was there, took him. Well, every time it came back to me, not every time, but the majority of times when it came back to me where I normally would have taken a wide receiver, the best player on the board by far was a running back. So I ended up with Bijan, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, and Alvin Kamara. Just like you, I stowed Kamara everywhere. I also have Jalen Warren, Roshan Johnson, or not Roshan Johnson, but I had another running back, name escapes me. But anyway, I think the takeaway for me is you have to go the way the draft goes. So I was smart enough in my research to know what receivers would be there later. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, guys like that. So when the running backs, who are always injured, right? It's always a terrible position. When those running backs fell to me, I just kept plucking them one by one by one. Last night, you know, you have owners that panic. We say all the time, don't panic. Call us first, right? We'll be your fantasy football therapist. Comes to me and says, I need a running back. He was starting Antonio Gibson as his second running back. Travis Etienne was his first running back. So needless to say, he's 11 out of 12. And he said, I really want Kamara. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to trade Kamara, not after 13 catches. Not that he'll do it again, but the guy I'm not sold on was Kenneth Walker III. So I'm texting back and forth with this guy. What does Kenneth Walker do? He has the touchdown called back because his knee or his elbow and butt were down. Well, later he scores the touchdown, puts them probably out of reach for the game. I offer the trade a second time. I said, listen, I'm not going to overpay, and I'm not going to give you the running back that you want. I'll give you Kenneth Walker. I'll give you Nuke Hopkins, who just came off a pretty successful game. But again, no Traylon Burks. He's panicking because Joe Burrow hasn't looked good. Who had the presser after the game that said, I'm always fucking open? Jamar Chase. So for Kenneth Walker, I now slot Jamar Chase in with Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Puka Nacua, Christian Kirk. All buy proof, all quarterback proof. I'm good to go. All of that to say, you take the draft where it takes you, and then you can move certain pieces, especially at the running back position. Same league, because running backs did what they did for me. I waited on tight end, and I'm streaming. It's awful. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I also waited on quarterback. Sometimes I'm good with waiting on quarterback. Most of the time I am. However, what happened was some of these guys started drafting their second quarterback. So names that should have been there, like Tua, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, weren't there. So I ended up with Daniel Jones. I was ecstatic. Daniel Jones is going to run. He's going to throw. He's got Darren Waller. Well, if you watched last night, Daniel Jones is in for a long, long season with that porous offensive line. So I've got a plan to stash another quarterback. Purdy's available. Jordan Love's available. CJ Stroud's available. Sam Howell this week, Thursday night against the Bears at home, is available. So there's some streaming options. I will probably just stash Daniel Jones until they figure it out. So be careful in waiting on tight ends and quarterbacks. Be prudent, but be smart. But yes, go with the way the draft takes you, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, what's wild about your stacked wide receiver room is honestly Deebo Samuel and Jamar Chase might be bench worthy, right? I mean, just depending on the situation, Deebo's not 100%. He was not targeted last week.
Yep.
He smashes the Cowboys, and I can't imagine that game's even close, to be honest with you. But I think he'll be just fine on Sunday night. But Jamar Chase, squeaky wheel kind of thing. T. Higgins is out, but spoiler alert, we're going to talk about him on my trade column I'm going to mention at the end of the episode, and he's not on the right side of it. I'll put it that way. So he's awesome if he's in your stable of 5 wide receivers, but I do not want him or relying on him as my number one. I'll put it that way. And for your team, he's not your number one. Puka Nacua is your number one. Nico Collins is your number 2, which is insane, right? So you're in good shape right now. But if you're on the other side of that, I'm a bit nervous. All right, Matt, I want to give a shout out to Jefferson, of course, one of our newest writers here at Razzball. CJ Stroud to the moon. That seems to be the case, which is pretty amazing there in Houston. So, Matt, let's get right into it, man. First of all, let everybody know where they can find your content and what they can expect every single Tuesday. I kind of prefaced it already, but give them a little bit of a nugget. And like we said, almost 100 comments on your article last week. Like, that's not hyperbole. And a huge piece of that is because you are so dedicated, as all of us are, but you've led by example really on making sure that you have a quick reply. You're in depth with your replies. People know that. So they give genuine questions and comments and feedback and, debates back and forth. And you're on top of all that, which is very, very valuable. So let everybody know what they can find in your article specifically before we cover it here in just a minute.
Yeah, so I try to cover waiver wire acquisitions that are below 50% owned or rostered. At this point, it's kind of tough, especially on the running back front right now, because there have been so many injuries and there's a lot of folks subscribing to handcuffs. So running backs is a little bit of an issue this week. But I'll tell you another thing that I've learned recently about writing is and I'm patting myself on the back a little bit, but it's just kind of the guy I am, the person I am. And you know this, right? We've talked plenty of times. There's a personal aspect to the people that read our articles. The people that come back because they feel like they've been listened to and that they've gotten a response that is not only thoughtful, but it's sometimes personal. The last 2 weeks, and I will do it again this week. I haven't picked the person that I'm going to have helped me, but the last 2 weeks I have gone with people that have been very active in questions and very thought-provoking and really, for the most part, stumped me, where I've had to go do a little bit of deeper analysis and provide a more provocative response, if you will. I've let them add a waiver acquisition to my list, and I always put that person in the list. So this last week, my buddy Shadow, who checks in every week, wanted Michael Wilson in the article. Michael Wilson's in the article. A couple weeks ago, John called me out because I totally whiffed on Kyron Williams. Didn't have him anywhere in the article. I don't even think I had him as an honorable mention. So the next week, I allowed John to pick somebody. He came with Josh Reynolds, who was a good waiver acquisition, who has done nothing really since we've had him in the article. But with Jameson Williams coming back, he may not do anything. But that shows you that I think we provide a different level of personality. We give, what do we always say? Come for the analysis and stay for the humor, right? I think it's very important that folks know read all the responses. Don't just read the response to your question, but there's a personality behind it. There's real people here. We're just like the folks that are asking the questions. We do that when we sign off on Sunday. We quiz each other and we ask each other, do you start Tyler Higbee or Evan Ingram or Darren Waller? I have all three, right? So we go through the same struggles that our readers do. So to me, it's a matter of putting this stuff on Twitter. It's all available on Razzball NFL. We promote it as much as we can, but we're not people that have tens of thousands of followers. So we rely on our readers to retweet, to ask questions, to get the impressions up so that we can continue to drag people our way. And sooner or later, maybe we're what the kids call viral. I doubt it. I don't know that we have the bandwidth to be viral, especially not at my age, but I'm all about it. And I love the engagement. And what a lot of people don't realize is we don't get paid to do this. Right? We're all doing this for the love of fantasy football and the fact that at one point or another, we wanted free content. We wanted engagement. We wanted people to respond and to be thoughtful. And that's what I think we bring. And I know especially that you do that. Bob does that and Derek for sure. So we crave that response and those questions. And the harder they are, the better. So give us all you got. And as Sky said, I will respond to every single question that I receive. And to me, Tuesday night is the most important time to do that because the majority of waiver wires run overnight. So I'll be up a little bit later tonight, and I will address everything that I can. And Sky, right before we signed on, what did I tell you? Take your time because I was answering Shadow's question. He had 6 different issues in his question. I addressed every single one of them. And some of them are personal opinion. Some of them are analytically driven. So again, bottom line, short story long, whatever you want to say. Personal touch, that's what we give you, right? We are the concierge of fantasy football analysis.
Ooh, nice.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, that was a professional drop. Well, way to have the thesaurus on standby there. All right, as you can see on the screen here, that's football.razzball.com, and then the ready or not, here come bye weeks. That is the truth. We are officially in bye week season, folks. Make sure you are careful with that. We got 4 teams on bye this week, so be ahead of that. And maybe looking ahead a little bit on your waiver column there as well. So if you have any questions, you can drop those in to Matt's article, football.razzball.com. And he goes under Mitch Staniger, by the way. So if you're looking at Matt Stiles, you will not find that. But Mitch Staniger is who drops the waiver wire article. And Matt Stiles and Mitch Staniger are very much related. I will be dropping my trade.
Should I change that? Do I need to change that handle? Or are we sticking with Mitch Staniger?
You're over 100 comments with an alias, so I would just stick with what you got. I've been Sky Guasco the third, which is not true either for a while. So just rock it as long as you can. So I'll be dropping my trade article as well Wednesday morning, and you can drop me any of your trade targets. So, all right, without any further ado, man, we got a lot to get into here. Let's get into it. And of course, make sure to subscribe once again, download that podcast, find us anywhere on at Razzball NFL on Twitter, and you can highlight all of us as well. All right, Maddie, let's go through your comments here, and we'll go through your article. Now, of course, you break it down in each position. We will be breaking that down, but because we do have some bye weeks coming up, we have the Chargers, we have the Buccaneers, we have the Browns, and the Seattle Seahawks all on a bye this week. So we have some massive names that we need to account for right off the bat. We have a couple injuries, but we have stud quarterback, stud wide receiver, as well, a couple running backs there and a tight end. So who is your number 1 or 2, gotta have them regardless of position, waiver targets that you'd be willing to maybe either spend, a larger chunk of your fab on, or that number 1 waiver claim? There's a lot of talk about 2 different players, and I've had 2 people ask me already about those players. I've said, no, they're not worth a number 1 waiver claim this week, but that's just my opinion. You're the waiver expert. I'll turn it over to you.
For me, I think that you have to always remember that you're going to get the most points from your quarterback on a given week. Usually you're looking for 20 to 30 points for a quarterback. So you've lost Geno Smith, you've lost Deshaun Watson, you've lost Baker Mayfield. I can't believe that I'm still finding a way to squeeze his name in. And you've lost the current fantasy football MVP at quarterback in Justin Herbert. Do you want to say anything about that before I move forward? Yeah. Oh, what's your sweatshirt say? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. I will tell you, I'm not a fan of this player, but right now, statistically, you have to pay attention to the fact that Russell Wilson is tied for the league lead tied for second behind Justin Herbert with 9 touchdowns. He's
Playing
tied with
well.
a guy named Josh Allen, who's a pretty darn good quarterback.
Heard of him. Yep.
The Broncos are now probably without Javonte Williams. The story is that he may be heading to the IR. Samaje Perine has not been as advertised in Denver, and Jaleel McLaughlin is just a dude. Small college, small guy. They were way out in front, so he averaged just over 10 yards a carry last week against the Bears. Again, the Bears are hapless, right? You can't really use statistics against the Bears to figure out what that player is going to do the next week. So if they really are going to have trouble running, which I think they're probably going to struggle, then Russ is going to have to do what he does, what he thinks he does best, right? Russ is going to have to throw the football. Judy's healthy. Sutton's healthy. What is the guy's name? Brandon Williams, the guy that's stealing everybody's touchdowns, is healthy. Marvin Mims has 10,000 yards on 4 catches. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't have the guts to acquire and start him. So
Cortland Sutton's playing well too.
It's crazy. I don't get it. They're supposed to be terrible. Now, when they're one-dimensional and have to throw, maybe they are not so prolific on the offensive side. So if you're not a fan of Russ, you're not comfortable with the Denver offense, then I would say exactly what Jefferson said and exactly what our picture showed at the beginning when we led in. CJ Stroud. Now, temper your expectations. Here I've got the old handy-dandy phone. CJ Stroud is about to face at Atlanta, not a good matchup. New Orleans, not a good matchup. Bye week, followed by Carolina, who is good against the pass because everybody can run on them. And then Tampa Bay, who's really good against opposing offenses. So I would say CJ Stroud had 4 pretty good weeks based on who he played. So now's the time to add him early, but temper your expectations because I don't know that he's going to do the same things the next 4 weeks that he did the first 4 weeks. But I still think he needs to be on a roster. I also like Brock Purdy, who is under 60% rostered. I also like Jordan Love. And if you really are scraping the bottom, but you look at the matchup for Thursday Night Football, Sam Howell could be an absolute steal for Thursday Night Football.
I'll tell you right now. I mean, as you can imagine, as a Duck homer, I live 10 minutes away from where Justin Herbert grew up, watched him in high school, yada, yada, here in Eugene. I have Justin Herbert everywhere I possibly could get him. Now he's on a bye week, right? So I am filling that void with streaming quarterbacks. I don't like Dak Prescott this week going against the Niners. I don't like some of these other guys. You can't trust Daniel Jones, right? Can't trust Matt Stafford, who now was hurt again. CJ Stroud is not available in a lot of my competitive leagues because people are picking him up last week. Guys like Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, they're not available. Sam Howell is my guy. So I'm riding with it. The Bears have the best matchup for fantasy quarterbacks right now. We just saw Russell Wilson smash on them last week as well there. So Sam Howell, I'm going to ride with it on Thursday night in about 3 different leagues. So I'm with you. All right. Any other quarterbacks before we move into running back territory here for your top waiver ads for week 5?
Arizona's going to have to score points to win. They're terrible. Josh Dobbs looks pretty good, but he's even further down the list probably than Sam Howell. I do like Matt Stafford, the way he's throwing the football. Got to keep an eye on his hip and keep an eye on Tyler Higbee's injury. I think he dinged up his hand a little bit. So those are 2 that I'm not really acquiring anybody to replace Higbee, and I'm not adding Stafford. I want to see the injury reports tomorrow and Thursday, see what those guys look like. But Stafford looks like Stafford of old, and guess who's coming back? The OG Puka Nacua.
Yeah, exactly. The original Puka Nacua. I like that.
Yeah. Cooper Cup, or is it Cooper Pacupa?
It's Cooper Nacupa, I think. It's yeah.
I've had a lot of people. So I've got Puka everywhere. I don't know what that means in real English, but I do. I have Puka everywhere. I've had people come to me and they want to trade for Puka, and I say no, but you can have this guy, or we can talk about this guy. And
no, you can have Jamar Chase though. I don't want to give away my good receivers.
Yeah, but they're their thing is, well, what happens when Cup comes back? And I said, well, why don't you tell me what you think happens when Cup comes back? I don't get paid to do this, but at least I'm on a podcast that says I know something. My thought is Cup's going to go back to his role if he's fully healthy. Puka slides a little bit outside, and Tutu loses the targets. Because Higbee's going to get his. He had 11 targets last week. Puka's going to get his. He just proved I can win a football game for this team. 9 for 163 and a walk-off touchdown. How many times in the NFL do you get a walk-off touchdown from a rookie receiver? It just doesn't happen, right? I'm absolutely all in on Stafford as a bye week or an injury replacement, but I want to see how his hip feels when he hits practice on Wednesday. And by the way, his age says he probably doesn't need to practice every day. He's not going to go through the wears during practice, but I kind of dig Stafford and the way he's playing right now, and love the fact that he's got Cooper Kupp coming back.
Right. Got it. And again, maybe it goes without saying, but if anybody's unfamiliar with maybe the strategy, make sure you're keeping a note on the players on bye, right? It's very unlikely, obviously. Guys like Austin Eckler, Mike Evans, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, they're not going to be dropped, right? But guys like Joshua Palmer, right? Maybe even Chris Godwin if they're in a shorter league. Some of these running backs, you might have maybe like Tyler Lockett, who didn't have a big game last night. Any of those kind of running backs might be fallen by the wayside there. Elijah Moore, Deshaun Watson, who's injured, stuff like that. Keep an eye on them because people need to drop players to fill up that space if they don't have room on their bench. And you'll be shocked throughout the season who falls off waivers this week. And now when you're cycling your search and you're looking at projected points for the week or however you all do that research, you're not going to see those players because they have a 0 because they're not playing. Yep. So sometimes you could just type in a name or keep an eye on your league cycle information of players who are dropped and stuff. You're going to be shocked at certain DSTs. Like the Cowboys DST will probably be dropped when they're on a bye week. Go pick them up and wait a week, right? Like you can find incredible value sometimes on players that are dropped because of a bye week, and then you can get ahead of them and pick them up on a dead week if you can withstand that and wait it out before they go back into waivers, and then it's fair game for everybody else. So just keep an eye on that. All right, Matty, any other running backs or wide receivers here before we get into a quick tight end talk?
I kind of dig Michael Wilson, mainly because Hollywood's going to be owned in too many leagues. So you want to look at Michael Wilson if you need a deep streamer for wide receiver. We had a Cam Akers sighting. I wouldn't roster Cam Akers, but again, if you're starting Antonio Gibson, maybe Akers is a better option for you. He just has not gotten it done so far. Madison is obviously the lead dog, but if you need somebody on your bench, you've lost somebody to injury. You don't have somebody like Saquon ready to come back. Maybe Akers deserves a spot way deep on your roster. But I'd prefer guys like Jalen Warren, Roshan Johnson, Samaje Perine, probably not Tyjae Spears after what we saw from Derrick Henry. But there's some names out there that you can acquire. Wide receiver, I know that you and Bob are going to really hate this. First of all, I'll give you the good name. I like Romeo Doubs. We talked about him Sunday. He's going to continue to collect targets. And I kind of dig Josh Downs. He didn't have a great week, but again, we're looking at bye weeks. We're looking at injuries. The guy that's gonna creep up the waiver wire is going to be Tyler Boyd. People forget that he's not really that good from a fantasy perspective. He does what the Bengals need him to do, but he's not really the slot guy that everybody wants him to be, the slot guy. And I like Tyler Boyd. I always have, but I've also rostered Tyler Boyd and started him and been disappointed too many times. But again, you lost Mike Evans. Let's say you can put him on your IR slot. Plus he has a bye week. If you need to add somebody with T. Higgins out, Tyler Boyd is the exact streaming player you want to throw in there. We hope that Burrow comes back, but we don't know. So you have to take a chance. It's better than dropping Evan Ingram, or it's better than dropping James Conner, or somebody that's just not been great so far, or that's had the one bad week or two bad weeks. Somebody's going to drop Daniel Jones, right? Somebody's going to drop James Conner. So Darren Waller's good. That's the pick I'm waiting that these guys start dropping. Teams that took 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends and 2 defenses, I stream all of them. I'm waiting for you to have to drop players, and the first one will be Tyler Higbee. I will acquire Tyler Higbee tomorrow morning, because somebody drafted him and Darren Waller.
Yep.
and they don't have enough room for him. So
Yeah. In regards to a DST, I've noticed in like 2 or 3 of my 7 leagues, a couple of them are dynasties, so they don't count. So let's say like 4 redraft leagues I'm in. Um, Baltimore's DST has been dropped in 3 leagues, right? They're playing Pittsburgh this week with either a hurt Kenny Pickett or Truth Bisky. Either way, give me the Ravens defense,
Yep.
right? So those are things that you can pick up off of waivers there. So keep an eye on those drops again. All right, any tight ends worth note here before I get into trades?
Kind of talked about Higbee a little bit. I think if you need to make a tight end acquisition for the week, for me, and it has been for 3 weeks, but I've not followed my own advice, and I lost at least one matchup because I didn't listen to myself, is Zach Ertz. He's just absorbing targets in Arizona. The other name, because he had 2 touchdowns this week, is Cole Kmet. I don't like Cole Kmet on Thursday night. I don't like Cole Kmet because of the Bears right now. So I would lean Zach Ertz, and don't pay for him on waivers. Get him Wednesday morning when you get your first cup of coffee. He'll probably be free because he has been through 4 weeks. So I don't have anything to suggest that he's going to cost you a fortune in Fab. Or, like you said earlier, the waiver priority. I wouldn't pay up for Zach Ertz. So because you can get Kate Otten, you can get Kmet, you can get those guys later if you really need them.
Right, I totally agree. I actually have 3 of these players that you mentioned in your waiver article because they are less than 50% rostered, so they qualify for the waiver article also. But I also have 3 of these guys in my trade article as well, which is interesting because, again, if they are rostered, maybe you can go out and get them. I'm going to get into my trades here in just 1 second. I'm going to switch gears on the back end here. But, Matt, while I do that, please let everyone know what they can expect every Sunday morning from us.
Every Sunday morning, we're going to be on 2 hours before kickoff, all the way up to about 5 to 10 minutes before kickoff. And we will answer all of your start-sit questions. We will address trades. The key we need from you guys, especially if you type your question in and then you're just waiting, you're not watching the board. We need the league format, league settings, and possible drops that you have, or possible trade partners that you're looking at. So we want to get a look at what your roster looks like. We need to know the setting, standard, half PPR, full PPR, super flex, dynasty, whatever it may be. And then there's usually 4 of us on Sundays. It's going to be a really pour one out for my homies Sunday, because I think Bob's going to have to do it without Sky and
Lone
me
Ranger
and Derek. The perfect storm. And I'm actually going to be with my college-age daughter for Parents Weekend.
Cool,
Florida
man.
Atlantic University. So everybody in the Boca area, come out to
FAU.
my book signing.
Nice.
I won't be signing any books. I don't have a book, but more than happy to. If you bring me a Razzball shirt or hat, I'll sign it with whatever you bring. But nobody's looking for my autograph. But yeah, and here's the cool thing, right? So FAU is joining the AAC this year. They're playing Tulsa on Saturday. My daughter called and she said, "Dad, I don't want to go to the football game. I'm a bigger Tampa Bay Lightning fan. They're playing 20 miles up the road against the Florida Panthers." I'm like, you know what? I'm a girl dad. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
So here we are. We're going to go club level. We're going to eat all we can eat, drink all we can drink, and we're going to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning play.
Totally cool, man. I love that so much. My daughter goes to Oregon State, so we're on the other coast here. But same thing, man. We go to lots of basketball games and like go to Beavs football games, which all of a sudden are fun. And so that's gonna be a lot of fun too. She's like, "I want to go to a football game and check it out." I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to support you. Let's go
whatever
to a
you
football
need.
game." Hey, the least I could do is go to a football game with my daughter. You know what I mean?
All right, so we're going to get into your trade stuff here in a second. So why don't we throw this one for you?
Yeah.
And then we can get into your article too.
Yeah. Okay. So trade Ramondre and ship Jalen Waddle. So basically, you're acquiring Ramondre Stevenson. You're getting rid of Jalen Waddle. I was just going to put an addendum on your notes there, Matt, for Sunday, which nailed it. One other thing I would ask for everybody to include for us, if you have a question like this specifically, if it's a running back for running back, wide receiver for a wide receiver, speaks for itself. If you're talking different positions, which most trades are, we really need to know more context. First of all, I don't know if this is half or full PPR. I also don't know if you are stacked at running back or you're depleted at running back or you have plenty of wide receivers like Matt does. Matt has 5 starting, top 15 wide receiver options, so he can get rid of somebody and bring in Ramondre. If you're not in that case, Bronson, then I would not. I would not do this trade.
Yeah, he also says it's not Ship, it's D-Hop. So it's Nuke
D-Hop.
Hopkins and Ramondre. He'd be
I'm
giving
sorry.
up 2 for Waddle.
Thank you. Sorry. And PPR. I see you in the questions out. Thank you for jumping back in, Bronson. Okay, so you're looking for Ramondre Stevenson and D-Hop for Jalen Waddle. I still don't think I would do this necessarily without knowing more context. The Patriots look horrible right now on offense, and I'm going to bring up Mac Jones in a second and get into this. But long story short, they have gone from a nice week 1 and plummeted since, and that includes Ramondre Stevenson, unfortunately. DeAndre Hopkins, as we know, getting a lot of work, but minimal work these days. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. So we'll be going the other way. He just jumped in here. I read it backwards, per usual. Getting Jalen Waddle, then that's a no-brainer. So I'm going to change everything I just said. It's hard to read these questions sometimes. So basically it was, trade Waddle for whatever. So you reach into us, let us know you're giving so-and-so, you're getting so-and-so. That helps us. But if you're getting Jalen Waddle in this, yes, I want that. Lindorphins is back too. We got to jump in for Lindorphins, a regular on Sunday mornings, of course. My wide receivers are Tyreek, AJ Brown, Nico Collins, and Calvin Ridley. Should I be rethinking how I rank the last 2? So are you saying that you need to start maybe 3 per week and you're worried about that? Yeah, I think that just comes down to matches. I mean, for me, Matt, Tyreek and AJB are autos, right? And then I think until further notice, Nico Collins is the auto 3rd.
Yeah. And I would say, so what's the tool? I always forget the tool, the metric that Bob puts out there. We have a tool that will help you flip this coin. And that is the slot versus wide.
Oh, slot versus wide. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a tool that we have out there that's free. You can look at that and it will help you understand Nico being an out wide receiver and Ridley being kind of an out wide receiver with Kirk being the more of the slot guy. You want to know how do Nico and Ridley, who are they playing and what does their wide matchup look like for the week? In a vacuum, yes, I prefer Nico over Ridley right now. It's really hard to move Ridley down any wide receiver list. But I think the top 2, Tyreek and AJ Brown, you've got to start them. They were first or very high 2nd round picks, and I think they're your starters until either one of those teams shows you otherwise.
Yeah, and as we saw, AJ Brown just went for 170 and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill can go for 200 and a half. So that's automatic. And then again, Nico Collins, until further notice, is crushing. We just talked about CJ Stroud. I'm going to get into him a little bit as we go here through the trades as well. So Bronson, sorry for getting that confusing there in the beginning. I would absolutely acquire Jalen Waddle, and I think giving Ramondre and D-Hop, assuming you have a couple running backs, is perfectly fine there. So I appreciate that. And Lindorphins, always appreciate you jumping in as well. We will see you Sunday morning. All right, gents, let me get into the trade targets here and we'll get out. Of course, you can check my article on the back end every Wednesday morning. So we have the quarterback position here. My quarterback to acquire, we already talked about him a little bit, but it is going to be CJ Stroud. He's QB 10 on the season. This is for real. Top 13 since week 2. 2 touchdowns in each of the last 3 games. He is trending in the right direction. He has great weapons. They're throwing the ball. It is not the Pierce show like it was last year. He's playing quite well. My running back is Isiah Pacheco. Rushing attempts have increased each week, and he's scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks. Plus, he's got plus matchups in the next 5 games. He's got the Minnesota Vikings, can't stop anybody. Denver Broncos twice, who we just saw the Bears run all over. He's got the Chargers and the Miami Dolphins. Matt, let me attend to my puppy. Give me my thoughts on Isiah Pacheco.
I think Pacheco's a good ad, right? Like you said, now you have to know when to trade for guys. And last week would have been ideal to trade for Pacheco because he hadn't looked great. Now he's kind of been on a national stage. He looked pretty good against the Jets. He had that long touchdown. He looks like he's out of control, though, doesn't he? I saw a meme that said Isiah Pacheco is the kid you don't give sugar sodas to at a birthday party. Because he just kind of looks hyped up and he's going nuts. But if you can find the right trade partner, maybe a Rashad White, somebody that likes PPR, or maybe you get Pacheco and a receiver and you deal Kamara, maybe that makes sense for you because you need the receiver as well. But I'm gonna go on mute 1 second. You'll find out why in a second, but I'm gonna turn it back over.
Gotcha. All right, and I'll go into my wide receiver position here. I've got Romeo Doubs. We already talked about Romeo Doubs. Obviously, that Packers offense, quarterback position, and the wide receivers as well, obviously are a trifecta now. Christian Watson hasn't even done anything yet, but he is back and healthy. You've got your boy Aaron Jones. But Romeo Doubs is the number one as of right now until Watson supplants him, but he might not. There was a lot of talk preseason with Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs, so I like that a lot. He had a down week in week 3, but he's been wide receiver 14, 17, and 10 otherwise. Last week, wide receiver 10. Christian Watson and Aaron Jones came back and played. Doubs went for season highs in targets with 13, receptions with 9, and receiving yards at 95. He scored touchdowns also. So Romeo Doubs right now is the number one in Green Bay. I don't think people are necessarily taking this offense seriously or that Jordan Love will continue to do this. I also don't think they're taking Romeo Doubs seriously as the number one with Christian Watson back. So I think this is a cheap get. If you need a bye week filler, you got Keenan Allen out. You got the Bucs wide receivers out as well. You got Amari Cooper on the bench, DK and Tyler Lockett too. Go look for a cheap fill this week on a bye week. I think that's going to be Romeo Doubs. And my tight end, and I'll let you reply here. My tight end is Cole Kmet. We talked about him getting picked up here. Tight end 1 on the week last week. He's tight end 3 on the season. And he's seen at least 6 targets in 3 of his 4 games here. We're bashing Justin Fields. He played really well, obviously, this last week, but hopefully he's trending in the right direction. Most of that has come through the tight end position. Now, the caveat, of course, here is that he scored 2 touchdowns. So anytime a tight end scores a touchdown, they're top 10. They score 2, they're going to be top 3, automatic, right? Which is kind of silly with tight ends. So temper those expectations. But we're not looking at Donald Parham type touchdowns where he's getting 2 targets for a touchdown. We're getting 6, 7, 8 targets for 5 receptions, 50 yards, and those touchdowns from Cole Kmet. So those are things that I'm more interested in. And straight up, I'd rather have him than Kyle Pitts. I've been telling you in my article for 3 weeks to trade away Kyle Pitts. If you happen to still have him on accident and you're not listening to me, I will continue to yell at you politely and drop Kyle Pitts. Go get a guy like Jake Ferguson or go get a guy like Cole Kmet, either trade or hit up on waiver wires. Once again, Matt, my trade 4 options: CJ Stroud, Isiah Pacheco, Romeo Doubs, Cole Kmet. We've already talked about 2 of them. Any more thoughts?
No, more of a question. If you had available to you Higbee or Kmet in a vacuum, who do you like long term?
I like Kmet because there's less competition. Cooper Kupp is coming back. When Cooper Kupp comes back, I don't think it hurts Nakua. I think it hurts Atwell a little bit, obviously, in wide receiver, but Higbee is boom or bust, which I think Cole Kmet is too. But now that we've seen that Cole Kmet can be kind of a focal point of that offense and DJ Moore just hasn't caught on yet, there's only 2 options in the passing game for the Bears, whereas there's already 3 for the Rams and Cooper Kupp coming back. So it's very, very tight. But for me right now, it's Cole Kmet. And, Matt Stafford's fine when he's healthy, but he's hurt again. He's hurt kind of always.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit nervous about that. And if he goes down, I'm definitely more nervous about it there where, I just trust in Justin Fields moving forward here. So I would go with Cole Kmet.
Yeah. And I'm going to look up real quick while you're hitting your stuff. I'm going to look up the matchup on Thursday night for Kmet. So Washington is the number 1 against tight ends in a negative way.
Tough. Yep. Tough.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So maybe if you're one of those streamers like me, you go with Higbee for a week. He's got the 3rd best matchup. Then you hope Kmet gets smashed by the Commanders, and then you pick him up for free after week 5. That's probably where I'm trending right now.
Yeah, great. All right,
but he's an ad, right? He's again, you want to trade buy low, sell high. Just
and it might seem obvious, but a major difference between waiver wire ads, especially if I'm streaming, and trade for people, right? Players. If I'm trading for Cole Kmet, I'm planning on him being a long-term solution for me for whatever reason. So if he doesn't have the right matchup this week, but maybe I can use that to my advantage. Someone's like, man, I'm not trading him off of 2 touchdowns. I'm like, bro, he's playing Washington. Like, they're very good against tight end, but I'm willing to kind of eat that matchup because I want him long-term. Okay, we meet in the middle. I get Cole Kmet for the next month. That's what I want. I would not stream Cole Kmet and pick him up this week. Maybe if that's a matchup issue, look at somebody else. But if you're looking to trade, you're thinking longer term. So that's maybe just a different mentality a little bit. Itty Bitty South City 650 back. I haven't seen this name in quite a while, man. Great to
I love it.
All right, great to hear from you here. We got okay, 1 of 3. We got a 14 team, half PPR. We basically got a whole squad here. Should I use the waiver number 4 on Michael Wilson or Jonathan Taylor? So for the podcasters, Matt, you can siphon through this. You got the waiver wire coming up. I'll let you answer the question, but for the podcasters, I'm going to read it out in full. It is a chunky one. 14 team, half PPR. He's got Geno Smith at the quarterback position. I want to fix that immediately if I can. But we also have Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Jahan Dotson, Elijah Moore, and Rashee Rice. At running back, Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Kyron Williams, Rashawn Johnson, and Achan. And then at tight end, we have Ferguson and Logan Thomas. So we're looking at a wide receiver or Jonathan Taylor, who is not yet playing, but he should be practicing tomorrow with that report. But you got to put a waiver in tonight, Matt. Are you just taking that stab at JT? And even if he doesn't play this week, he's trending in the right direction. Although, let me remind everybody, there are murky waters in Indianapolis, to say the least. Jonathan Taylor does not have to play from the organization standpoint. Like, they don't have to play him. And Jonathan Taylor can kind of choose not to play also. Maybe he gets traded, whatever. So even though he's eligible to practice, and he might practice, he hasn't practiced since December. So I'm a bit concerned about that. But go ahead and let us know how you're feeling on Jonathan Taylor or Michael Wilson, the 2 touchdowns last week against my 49ers for the Cardinals.
Yeah. I don't know that I love the Kansas City wide receivers, right? We all love Kelsey. I won't mention anything about Kelsey because it's too much on the timeline right now. I can't do it. I think I prefer Michael Wilson over Rashee Rice, but I wouldn't spend my number 4 waiver on that move because I think they can be somewhat interchangeable. I would, however, spend my number 4 on Jonathan Taylor just because he has the potential to be in the running back 3 from week 5 on, minus a bye. He's not going to usurp Christian McCaffrey, but this guy comes back if he's healthy, if he's kept himself in shape, if Anthony Richardson is what we've seen so far and can take pressure off the running game, then Jonathan Taylor he needs to be rostered in 100% of leagues. If he comes out and him and Irsay have another argument, right? They don't like each other. They stick their tongues out and they go their own way. Fine, but what did you waste? Nothing. Didn't cost you $1. It cost you a week 5 4th waiver priority. I will tell itty bitty South City 650 because I want to say that as many times as I can.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Jonathan Taylor should not be there when he has the number 4 waiver priority.
Yeah,
somebody at 1, 2, or 3 with running back issues is probably going to scoop him up. So I would say with this roster, let's say he's going to start Geno. You're going to talk about that here in a second. Chase is a must start. Devonta Smith is a must start. Probably DJ Moore is going to be his must start at flex. He's going to have Achan and Kyrie Williams starting. And based on the matchups, either probably Breece Hall would come off the bench. Roschon long-term is probably a very good player to hold. I love Ferguson moving forward. Logan Thomas has looked good, but my drop would probably be Rashee Rice for Taylor or Logan Thomas for Taylor and keep the wide receiver core where it needs to be. And then I will turn it over to you. We've kind of talked about this for quarterbacks. There's got to be a better option than Geno Smith out there.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that too. But then, Matt, look, I mean, check this out. We're talking 14 more teams here.
That's
right?
true.
So it's a 14 team, not a 12 team. So I'd imagine that you're scraping the barrel. This is probably like Sam Howell, Zach Wilson, Mitch Trubisky. I'm trying to think outside the box here. O'Connell for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy G got dropped.
If our itty bitty South City 650, I'm going to get it in at least one more time. If he did what I did, right? He kind of punted quarterback. He ends up with Geno. Geno's on a bye. He has to address that.
Yep.
This is the week that you love having to stream a quarterback, knowing that Sam Howell is playing the Bears on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, go get him.
It is what it is, right? Suck the egg, hope for the best. And by the way, Derek sent me a text right before we went on the air. Do you know Sam Howell is averaging about 21.5 points when he hasn't played the Bills this year? Right? Shit the bed against the Bills, but that's what the Bills do to teams.
They just crushed
21.5 points.
Yeah, they just crushed Tua. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I open up the program saying I have Justin Herbert off my bench or out of my lineup in 4 different leagues because of the bye week, and Sam Howell's my guy in 3 of those. And the only reason he's not in the fourth one because he's not available. It's a deeper league. People have him,
Yep.
whatever. So, yeah, I'm going with it. So I agree here. You got to fix Geno because he's just straight up not playing. So go find somebody else. But also, the way I would handle this situation, I would put in 2 waiver claims, both for Rashee Rice. What I would do is I would put Jonathan Taylor as my pick at number 4 for Rashee Rice. If it happens, you get JT. If it doesn't happen, I'd put in the same waiver claim for Michael Wilson for Rashee Rice, and then you get Michael Wilson for Rashee Rice anyway. You're probably not getting both of these guys regardless as it comes back around to you. So I would put JT up there. If JT gets picked in the top 3, which it might happen, you're going to get Michael Wilson automatically and then drop Rashee Rice. And I would agree. I'm going to go with Ferguson, although Ferguson does play the Niners on Sunday night. Hate the matchup, but he's getting those, he's getting the opportunity at tight end, and you can't really hate on that. So I appreciate it. So itty bitty South City 650. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you again on Sunday. And Matt, I think you're onto something here. Lindorfin's already is, we need updated name tags. I think we're going to talk to Bob. We'll get it up to HR and make sure we get our updated name tags here as we get to the second half of the season. But the concierge of fantasy football seems to be automatic there. So just checked. JT not available till 10-5 off of waivers. So he's actually not going to, somebody just dropped him. So again, go get Michael Wilson for Rashee Rice, automatic, right? Yep. That should be your top pick. And then put in another one overnight for JT for Logan Thomas.
Actually, wait a minute. If he puts his number 4 waiver priority and gets Wilson, he's going to go to the bottom of the list.
If it works like that, I guess he would.
If his league forces him to the bottom, I would not go after Wilson. I'd put all my chips in to try to get JT on the 5th.
You don't need Wilson.
No.
Like waivers are not based on who's the best player on waivers to pick up this week because you're obligated to pick up somebody. I'll go 10 weeks in a season and not make any waiver claims if I don't need to. Like, don't do that. He just said correct in the comments there. So good call, Matt. Look, man, you're not going to play. There's no chance. You're with Chase Smith, Moore, Dotson, Elijah Moore's out, but the other 4 guys, you're not going to play Michael Wilson over any of these guys this week specifically. Matt, you're totally onto that. I would not put in the claim either. I would put it onto JT, wait an extra day because then it's fair game for everybody. And here's the deal. If the top 3 dudes ahead of you or people ahead of you make those claims, they also tumble down to the bottom. Maybe all of a sudden you're the number 1 or number 2 tomorrow night. And then JT becomes more realistic. So good call, Matt. Deeper thought process there. I like that a lot. All right. Here we go. Another question there on Jaleel McLaughlin before I get into my trade aways. Appreciate the everyone jumping in tonight. This is great. We want the interactive episodes. And so thank you so much for helping us out with all this extra content here. So RTEP 1079 wants to know how much of an impact will McLaughlin have going further? Worth adding over Kelly or Dalvin Cook. I mean, can we just, speaking of pour one out, Dalvin Cook just getting compared to someone nobody knew existed 2 weeks ago in Jaleel McLaughlin and the ghost of Joshua Kelly, who's supposed to be good and isn't. And now we have Dalvin Cook in the mix. It's just super sad. Anyway, would you be going Jaleel McLaughlin? Rank these 3 waiver pickups, Matt. Jaleel McLaughlin, Joshua Kelly. By the way, of course, he's on bye, so I don't love that for this week. And Dalvin Cook as well, who just unfortunately looks cooked. Pun fully intended, but also quite sad.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Now, mind you, coming off the week 5 bye, Eckler is back week 6. Bank on it.
He probably would have played this week, honestly.
He probably would have played this week. Yep. So I like McLaughlin over Kelly. Man, Dalvin Cook is just too good of an NFL player to look this bad, but he looks this bad right now. And Breece Hall looks that much better.
And so Breece Hall's getting better weekly too.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in Cook, but I'd be hard pressed to drop him. Who do the Jets play? Do you have that in front of you?
I can in 1 second.
I think they have a decent matchup this week. Rumor had it this morning that Javonte Williams was going to go on the IR. If he goes on the IR, that means 4 weeks. So let me see if his bye week is.
How about this? I got it for you right here. Jaleel McLaughlin and Dalvin Cook play each other this week, week 5 at Denver. So you got Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall going against Denver Broncos. The Bears just ran all over them, but that's a road game for Zach Wilson, yada, yada. And then on the other side, Jaleel McLaughlin, again, not necessarily the starter until Javonte would fall out, but Javonte is also in my fades, which I'll get to in just a second here. And Samaje Perine just hasn't been a factor. We thought he was going to be. He just hasn't been. So, Jaleel McLaughlin for me is far and away the most prolific to add right here, but I just don't love the matchups regardless.
The strange thing for me is Sean Payton always had like 45 running backs and used them all. And he's not using Perine. Either there's something we don't know about Perine. Maybe they don't get along. Maybe he's a little bit dinged, but man, the guy was so valuable in Cincinnati. I don't quite see it. Maybe it works itself out and he gets better, but here's the next 4 for Jaleel McLaughlin. Now, mind you, small school kid, undersized.
Mm-hmm.
Most of his rushing has been garbage time, and he squeaked out a couple of touchdowns. So that's why he's up the waiver list a little bit. New York Jets at home, at Kansas City, Green Bay at home, Kansas City at home. The next 4 weeks don't look great. Green Bay can be run on, but they're actually a better front seven than people are giving them credit for. I don't want to play against the Jets plus Kansas City twice and Green Bay. But I'm not playing Josh Kelly because Austin Eckler is going to be back. And I don't
the Chargers aren't playing Josh Kelly.
No, and he's certainly off this week, so there's a 0. Yeah. I would probably, for this week, I would add McLaughlin. I would drop Joshua Kelly, and I would probably start Dalvin Cook over McLaughlin this week's matchup.
Yeah, I like that. Let's get your boy back in the mix here. And I do have some, allegedly, I was going to share some trade away questions, Matt, but I'm not doing that until the people, have no more to say. We're here for the folks, and that's what we're going to do. So let's get into it here. Itty Bitty South City 650 is back. I would love to see a jersey, like the old Mark Grudzilonic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just one of those.
Gastineau.
Oh, nice. A little Garcia Parra just up and over.
Go from elbow to elbow.
I would love to see that.
Scantling.
Nice. I would love to see that on a jersey. All right, I want to trade Trevor Lawrence for Tua or Hurts. Both managers want Devonta Smith and refuse to send back a wide receiver. Might just stream Zach Wilson against Denver. Any thoughts on Wilson? Quick thoughts on Wilson. Let's get just jokes aside and all that shit, whatever. We talked about it a little bit last night. Zach Wilson got a fire lit underneath him. He played well. He didn't lose that game. You could talk about the blown calls if you'd like to, whatever. Chiefs ended up beating them. The Jets should have won that game, and they could have. Zach Wilson played well. The Denver defense is not as good as the Chiefs is, and I think he will be okay if he can travel a little bit. That's my 2 cents on Zach Wilson. Do I want to play him in fantasy? Not really. But if I have Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, I'm playing Trevor Lawrence, period.
Not against Buffalo in London.
Against Buffalo, yeah, but okay. Let me throw this out there. We're going to go deep, folks. That's what we do here. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags are not leaving London. They played in London last week against Atlanta, okay? Not a great game, I get it, but the Buffalo secondary is destroyed. They just lost Tre'Davious White, which is horrible because this dude's one of the best in the business, had a torn ACL. Now he's got a torn Achilles. He's done again. They're missing a lot of options right there, right? The DeMar Hamlin stuff, whatever, but he's barely played. So Trevor Lawrence and the Jags are not traveling. The Buffalo Bills are traveling after a big game against the Dolphins. So I think it's going to be a much different game for Trevor Lawrence. I have a hunch, right? So I'm playing Trevor Lawrence automatically over Zach Wilson this week. Do what you can to get Tua or Hurts. They want Devonta Smith. I get it. Without knowing your whole team, it's hard to go through all that stuff. I don't want to get rid of Devonta Smith, especially if you get Hurts, because then, of course, you can get that stack. But for me, I'm doing what I can. Trevor Lawrence plus a piece for Hurts or Tua would be great. Try to move off of Devonta Smith if you possibly can. Any additional insight on that, Matt, before we go to Lindorfin's last question here?
It feels like an overpay, and I'd rather see Tua sit on the other guy's bench, or he has to make a decision every week. Am I going to start Tua or Hurts? And sooner or later, he's going to make the wrong decision, he or she. God, Sunshine and Devonta Smith it feels like an overpay to me.
Yeah, me too.
Now, if you get Hurts back in return, maybe it's worth it. And then especially because it's 2-for-1. So is there somebody on the waiver wire you love that you think will start for you? Maybe that's the way to go. But
or what does the rest of your team look like?
Yeah, exactly.
We keep saying this. It's like it's ridiculous, but you just talked about your five wide receivers earlier, and we laugh at it now, but it's the reality. If you have Puka, Nico Collins, Tutu Atwell, Tank Dell, Brandon Ayuk, I mean, any of these guys that we didn't think were going to be amazing, and they just are. And Devonta Smith is maybe your best wide receiver because of draft capital and name, but you have fillers behind him where you're not losing a huge gap. I still think it's an overpay, but it might be a more reasonable overpay, right? So, like, without knowing this whole roster kind of a thing, and we see it up top. I think that's most of his team there. He's got Chase, he's got DJ Moore, Dotson, things like that. So I don't love it. I don't want to get rid of Devonta Smith because I trust him more than Jamar Chase right now, to be honest with you. But that's just my call.
And from me to him, right, to itty bitty South City 650, I'm okay starting Zach Wilson this week. Zach Wilson, right. Sam Howell, right? I'm okay with them this week. I don't want them long term. I'm not going to count on them to do a lot. But tell me Zach Wilson can't throw against the Broncos, and I'll tell you, you're probably incorrect.
They just revitalized Justin Fields for us.
Yep. So instead of, don't leverage your whole season for that trade.
Lindorphins coming in hot with a midweek DST question. Lindorphins, you're lucky we're professionals because I should throw this in the dumps, but we're not going to because we love you. So here we go. Midweek DST question. Haven't done any of my research. I'm just going to be super upfront with that. So I'm better on Sundays for these, but I won't be there. So here we go. Felt great about Philly and KC going into last week, and now I'm wondering if I should drop both of them for Miami versus the Giants, or Washington versus the Bears. You got KC versus Minnesota, Philly versus the Rams. So, two things we want automatically for our DSTs. We want them at home. We want them favored in Vegas lines when possible. And obviously not against awesome, content. The Miami Dolphins just got obliterated by the Buffalo Bills, but hot take, the Giants are not the Buffalo Bills. So I feel a lot better about them. They're also home with Miami. Be careful about the Bears. We've given a lot of shade to Justin Fields because it's fun and we have a lot of inside jokes with the four of us and preseason hype and all that. If Justin Fields plays well, that could get ugly quick, right? He could score 4 touchdowns on his own. Washington probably not going to get a lot of run necessarily or pressure there. I'm concerned about it. I'm just going to stick with Philly, right? I mean, yeah, Puka's a beast, but Matt Stafford's not 100%. That secondary is hurting, but I don't think they're going to be able to run on him. So I'm just going to eliminate half of that. KC versus Minnesota, I don't like because Kirk Cousins can throw the ball over the yard. So for me, I'm going to stick with the best defense, I think, as a unit. And for me, that's Philadelphia.
I agree. You look at the pressures the Philly is getting, and I like them with an immobile Stafford. I will tell you this. So I have done my DST research because I have to have a waiver claim in tonight because Cleveland is on a bye. I don't want to drop Cleveland because some dummy did, and I'm happy to have Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and those
the second best secondary in all of football.
Yeah, I'm good with having them season long. By the way, we started with the Commanders, so that was a punt. Our defense, they were okay. The defense that is on a lot of waiver wires that is getting slept on is the Detroit Lions. Yeah, Detroit they play better at home. They're at home. I like Detroit over Miami, but I would not risk giving up Philadelphia. Kansas City, they're mad to me, right? Drop them if you want to drop them. But I would add Detroit over Miami. I almost said Denver. Can you believe that? No, sir. Detroit over Miami, but I would probably still start Philadelphia.
Yeah, I would have had to gone into post-production and just chopped out that little. I was really on our program, that would be much worse than dropping an F-bomb. You know what I mean? Like, I can deal with F-bombs. I can't deal with start Denver DST. That's just not going to work for us on this program here.
I would have had to pay for it on the text, the group text when people all three of you blew me up.
Well, that just comes out of your holiday bonus, right? HR just takes that right off the top. It's like the swear jar, in the classroom. They just take it right off the top. Appreciate you, kind sirs. We appreciate you, Lindorphins, and I'm busting your chops, man. I know, I appreciate it. No worries. I said sorry for the DST question. I love that. All right, folks, I do want to spend just 2 more minutes because I did do all the research for you folks. I want to make sure I get these names out there quickly. Matt, I'm going to blast these names. I'm going to get them out to you, and then we can move on. Players I'm looking to trade away. Mac Jones. He's benched at this point. Should be easy peasy, but take a look at Mac Jones here. Passing attempts, completions, and yards have all declined each of the last 4 weeks. He was QB2 in week 1. Since then, he's QB 24, 22, and 33. He was benched at the end of this last week. Zappy time. Don't love any of it. I'm getting rid of Mac Jones if he's still on my roster somehow. My running back, Javonte Williams, we've already talked about him. He's injured. We'll see what happens with him in practice reports and whatnot, but I'm not excited about him moving forward. Jaleel McLaughlin, we talked about a lot, looks explosive, and he had a season high of 13 carries. Javonte Williams did in week 1. Since then, he's trended down. Each week, he's had less and less and less carries. Of course, he gets injured in this last game, but he's had less each week. And he has 0 touchdowns so far, while Russell Wilson and that passing game are playing very well. So Javonte Williams, unfortunately, he's just not 100%, folks. It's not even a knock on him personally. When they come back from these injuries, he's not 100%. Breece Hall is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Javonte is not there yet. So until he gets there, he's not going to look good. I would cut ties while you can. This one is really rough, but it just is what it is. Jamar Chase. All right. I can't do it. I had Joe Burrow in my article 2 weeks ago, and people got all over me because it was premature. How has that gone for us the last 3 weeks, folks? Then I talked about Joe Mixon. That was premature as well. He's a running back that gets 20 touches. I can assume you want to keep that on your roster, but I don't love it either. Now we have Jamar Chase, squeaky wheel, giving a shout out to Burrow, whatever. They'll probably give him 35 targets next game. Fine. T. Higgins is out. But so far, no good. In PPR, Matt, this is the number 2 wide receiver consensus preseason off the board. In PPR so far this season, wide receiver 44, wide receiver 66, wide receiver 6, nice game in week 3, wide receiver 27 this last week. That's with T. Higgins, not 100%, but also Joe Burrow isn't either. No more than 7 targets in any of his games outside of 12 in week 3 when he had his bigger game. He's yet to score, and Joe Burrow just straight up doesn't look healthy at all. Jamar Chase, obviously don't just give him away. Get something massive for him back, but I think that you can on a decent game and name brand value. I don't want Jamar Chase on my team as of right now. Dallas Goedert. I like Goedert a lot, but he's getting targets and not getting the actual points. That's a lot worse than guys just not getting targeted. He's getting the targets and not getting the work. He's tight end 30, which is basically impossible. If you get any work at all, you're tight end 24. He's tight end 30. It's horrible. He's yet to score as well on the season. Season high of just 41 yards in week 3. That's a season high yet. The Eagles have a tough time getting the ball all the way around to A.J. Brown, who had 170 and 2 touchdowns. Devonta Smith has arguably been the best wide receiver in Philadelphia, plus a great run game with a 3 or 4-headed monster, and Jalen Hurts himself. So I like Goedert a lot. I had him as my tight end, I think 5 or 6 coming into the season. Just hasn't worked out. Last year, a lot of those guys were injured and taking up each other's space, so the targets were there. This year, everybody's healthy so far, and it's not working out. So I hate to cut ties with a top-end tight end, but if you can move a Dallas Goedert for our boy Sam Laporta, I'm doing that automatically, right? Name brand, higher profile offense, blah, blah, blah. Sell low, buy high, whatever. I'm into that. I would absolutely make that swap. Matt, let me get your thoughts real quick and we'll get out of here. Mac Jones, gone. Javonte Smith, can't trust him. Jamar Chase, I know it's a hot take. That might burn me 3 weeks from now, but I don't want the headache right now. And Dallas Goedert just not performing.
Yeah, I would never have drafted or rostered or started Mac Jones even after week 1.
So more of a super flex situation, but I get it.
Yep, agree 100%. Javonte Williams has a pretty juicy schedule later in the year, so I'd be hard-pressed to trade him. But if you need help and the other guy, your trade partner, has help he can give you, and you can get those wins stacked up now, that's the important thing. You play 1 week at a time, you got to stack the wins. So I can get behind that. I don't love it, but it is what it is. You're correct. Breece Hall is getting stronger. Javonte has not really gotten out of second gear yet. And again, the carries declining is scary. I don't know if scary is the word, concerning maybe is a better word. Jamar Chase, we had this talk before we came on air. I dealt Kenneth Walker III and Nuke Hopkins for Roschon Johnson and Jamar Chase. It's a very fair deal. The other team needed running back help desperately, gave up Chase. I'm willing to take the chance on Chase, but as we discussed, why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I have Debo, I have Devontae Adams, I have Christian Kirk, and I have Puka Nacua. So adding Chase to that is just my way of overwhelming the rest of the league, but I can wait for Chase to be Chase again. I will start him this week because it's probably the A.J. Brown effect, and he'll get 97 targets.
Absolutely.
And so, but I want to see Joe Burrow look better. He was rubbing the elbow. Now he's got the calf, or he had the calf. Now he's rubbing his elbow. I mean, sit him in the tub, right? The hot tub, cold tub, whatever. I don't care. The milk tub. Just sit him somewhere. Get him healthy. It could be the same shot they put in his calf that they did for old Tweeter's buddy in Varsity Blues. Just shoot him up and let's see what we can do.
Nice.
From there, I would love somebody to offer Dallas Goedert to me because I would be the sucker. If the trade makes sense, I'm taking Dallas Goedert off their hands and hoping. But again, as I mentioned, I punted tight end, so I am streaming. If you give me an option that I feel comfortable starting every week and Dallas Goedert makes me feel comfortable, I just have to deal with the repercussions of him not getting a lot of targets. And then maybe I'm frustrated later, but I would be the guy that you would trade Goedert to. With that being said, I prefer Tyler Higbee this week. I prefer Cole Kmet next week. But if you offer me Goedert, I'm probably going to find a way to make that deal. Now, mind you, he has no value outside of his name and the fact that the Eagles are really good and they're in a division where you have to put up 35 points to win. But from there, it comes into the bias that players like me have about certain players. I think Dallas Goedert is a really, really good football player, and he is. He's just not getting the looks that he needs to get. So I would be somebody you could come to and say, hey, I notice you are streaming tight ends every week. I've got Laporta and Goedert. What would you offer me for Dallas Goedert? I would say, well, I got Jalen Warren, I got Roschon Johnson, maybe I got Javonte Williams. What are you looking for? But that would be the way a trade like that would go. But what you have to do is if you have Goedert and Laporta or a second tight end, Mark Andrews, I had one of my readers say that they have Andrews and Goedert, then you go with the guy that you need to trade. But you're going to have to probably engage that other owner because teams that drafted two tight ends of that name value, people are not going to come to you for the trade because they think you value tight end too much. So Go out there and make that trade happen for yourself.
Chandler and Lindorphins, I'm going to get to your comments here in just 1 second to round out the program. Matt, pop quiz, I'll put you on the spot. Rest of season, or at least let's say next 4 games, whatever. Next 4 games, the next 6 games, the next kind of portion of our season here while we're making these trade decisions. Dallas Goedert or Jake Ferguson?
Oof. It's probably Ferguson, but I'm going to go with Goedert.
Tyler Higbee.
I'll go with Higbee.
Zach Ertz.
Probably Goedert.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no analysis I can give you, right? I can't give you anything to back up my Dallas Goedert, but none of it makes sense. Cole Kmet, throw him in there. It's probably Kmet. But when this year to me has been different than every other year I participated where I've punted tight end. This year, the streaming tight ends I've never heard of.
Yeah.
The ones that are scoring touchdowns for the Colts and the Broncos, players I've never heard of. And so I'm not mad because there's no way I would have ever added Granson from Indianapolis. I would never add him. Cade Otton is about as deep as I would go, and he'll have 2 catches for 6 yards and a touchdown. Well, guess what?
Yep.
That's better than Gerald Everett's 2 points.
Yep.
But I'm going to start Everett. Name value, better offense. It makes sense. They're playing Minnesota, who sucks. It just right now, tight end does not matter unless you have one of the 4 horses. Just doesn't matter.
Durham Smythe, Noah Gray, Tyler Conklin, Noah Fant, Donald Parham,
Uzama,
Hunter Henry, of course, the Falcons' #1 tight end, Jonnu Smith. Is another name that you could be looking at as well. Insane. All right, we got a couple last minute traders in here. We're going late tonight, folks. We're happy to do it. Thank you again so much for jumping in with these extra contents. And when we sign off here, feel free to jump into our DMs, man. We're available answering these questions nonstop. And of course, go to Matt's article at football.razzball.com for waiver wire content and conversation throughout the week. And I've got my trade article dropping early tomorrow morning. You can jump into that as well. We got our last 3 questions and we're going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody jumping in here. Chandler, we'll get to yours first. Trade Connor, Amari, and Terry. So Terry McLaurin, James Conner, and Amari Cooper for Saquon Barkley in PPR. Other wide receivers are Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Christian Watson, and Tank Dell. All 3 of those players are on my bench. I'm trying to trade and buy low on Saquon. Okay, let's work this out. Saquon has not played in 2 weeks. The Giants will probably give him 40 targets out of the backfield because Daniel Jones certainly can't throw more than 4 yards down the field. James Conner, Amari Cooper is out on a bye. Terry McLaurin plays well against Philadelphia, but not really anybody else. And then, of course, you got Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, who you're playing when healthy. Both of them are on a bye this week, though, so we got to fill those gaps. And then Christian Watson coming back with Tank Dell. So let's break this down here. Would you trade just straight up in PPR, Connor, Amari Cooper, and Terry McLaurin for Saquon Barkley?
Feels like an overpay, but I'm probably going to do this. The only player I don't want to trade in that is Amari Cooper, based on his connection with Deshaun Watson. But I'm happy to add a top 5 running back and hope for the best.
Yeah, me too. My only concern here, so let's create a roster really quick. Hypothetically, Saquon plays this week. That you got him and then whoever your other running back is. But then Keenan Allen and Mike Evans are out this week. Period. Mike Evans is hurt, but they're on a bye also. So you got Christian Watson, Tank Dell. Are those your 2 wide receivers you're playing? Hoping that
Cooper's out too, so he couldn't play Cooper.
No, I know, but he would have Terry McLaurin and James Conner, who are definitely playing. So again, there's just there's so much to work through this, but in a vacuum, as they say, Connor for Amari Cooper and Terry for Saquon. Yes, I would do that, but man, this offense looks dreadful right now for the Giants. And maybe it's because Saquon's out. Maybe when he comes back, it looks better. They looked okay in the first 2 weeks of the season, but I don't love that too much. But tune back in with us on Sunday or throughout the week.
Yeah, let's fill this roster out. How about this? Would you make this deal? You've got Connor, Amari, and McLaurin. You get Saquon. Now you have 2 open roster spots. If you can be guaranteed Michael Wilson and Tyler Boyd,
yes,
make the deal. Me too.
Tyler Boyd, I don't love, but there's other guys out there, or maybe
for 1 week.
For 1 week. I mean, sure. There's also running backs too, streaming running backs.
Sure.
You go out and give him Jaleel McLaughlin if you need to, whatever. But yeah, you can go ahead and start those guys. I do like that. Keaton Mitchell is just another name to put on the radar as well. He's a kind of a 4th stringer right now for the Ravens, but getting quite a bit of hype so far. And of course, they can't stay healthy in the backfield. So Lindorfin's coming in hot with those as well. Todd wants to know, Kmet, the best Bear in football. I'll take that.
So here's this. Todd Kuntz is an old buddy of mine. So if there's going to be a James Gannon for me, it's very possible it's Todd Kuntz.
Nice.
So
I need one. Maybe Beach is mine. We all need our burner accounts coming in hot.
We'll have to get Derek's wife to sign in for him because he doesn't have enough friends, right? But yeah, Todd is a big Bears fan. He and I have been going back and forth years, Packers-Bears rivalry. Todd's a fantastic DFS player. Three-time $25,000 champ.
Whoa.
He's also done it in the with the NBA. So the guy knows his stuff, except he doesn't know football, obviously, well enough to know to pivot off of the Bears. So yeah, Todd, good to see Todd in here tonight, and shout out to him. Maybe you'll see him Sunday when I'm out and about.
I'd love that. Right on. And Lindorphins, man, you're killing me on the comments. You're spot on with everything else. I appreciate you. All right, let's get into a couple more. Hey guys, do you think I should give up Josh Allen? Oh boy. Let me slow down on this one. Do I give up Josh Allen for Keenan Allen, Jonathan Taylor, and Jordan Love? Non-PPR 10-team flex league. Okay. Non-PPR definitely matters because Keenan Allen is number 1 in PPR. He's, I think, 14 or something in non-PPR with so many receptions. Jonathan Taylor gets a boost maybe in non-PPR. Quarterbacks wash out. So Josh Allen 4, Keenan Allen not playing this week, Jonathan Taylor not playing this week most likely, and Jordan Love, who should be, but obviously not to the level of Josh Allen here. What do you think?
I don't do it. Not in a non PPR league, because Keenan Allen could go 9.
What if I could do this next week? Week 6, Keenan Allen's playing. Justin Herbert's back. Austin Eckler's back. Jonathan Taylor plays this week, gets, the rust off and gets work. We know he's going to play, blah, blah, blah. We come back. This offer's still on the table. I would do it next week. I don't want to do it
next week. Yeah, I would maybe pause. What I would do is probably slow roll the text messages back and forth.
Me too. Yeah, and you don't want to say that to somebody because then if Josh Allen goes off, obviously they're not going to – but they're selling as high as they possibly can for Josh Allen. Or you are.
Yeah, and maybe the reason you can't
touchdowns?
make the trade is because you're not getting Keenan Allen this week. That scares you. You've got to think about it, and that's your response to the guy.
Yeah, I like it. Or you just need to see Johnny T play or whatever. But you can put Jonathan Taylor on your waiver, whatever. Okay, let's keep cruising down here. We got a bunch. I love this. Bears good for 4 first-rounders next year. That is most likely going to happen.
And they'll waste 2 of them.
Would you all trade Dallas Goedert for Sam Laporta straight up? 100%.
Yes, 100%.
If I'm getting Sam Laporta, that's a no-brainer for me there. And Chandler, this is going to be a last one for the evening. We're already like 2 hours over our time allotted, but we get paid, I think it's 4 times X for overtime, Matt, if I'm correct here from the company. So not a problem at all. Chandler wants to know any other running backs is Pollard and ETN as well. That goes back to the bigger question back up here with Tank Dell and everybody else up in this. So Connor, right? So he's got ETN and he's got Pollard. So that makes this a lot better. So he's got players to play to then get Saquon as that number 1 over the top. So I like it a little bit more in that position.
Yeah, I could live with it, but I don't know that he needs to add another running back with ETN and Pollard on the roster. But I get it. Sometimes it's fun to make a trade. You don't always have to do it, but there's times when it's fun.
And you want to collect best players on your team. So I appreciate that, and that's what people want to do there. We got week 8 coming up. All right. Appreciate everybody for the concierge of fantasy football. I am your host, Sky Guasco. Make sure to follow myself at Sky Guasco on Twitter, and of course, Matt Stiles at Stiles08. You can find everything Rasball at Rasball NFL on Twitter as well. And of course, make sure to subscribe right here to this program. We've gone quite a bit over our time tonight, but we're happy to do it with all of this content. So thank you so much, everybody, for jumping in on our comment thread tonight. We'll be doing that every single night for you all. So thank you so much. And also make sure to catch us on Sundays. Matt and I will be out on this particular Sunday. We just have individual things going on, but we do have a squad out there. We'll be ready for you 8 a.m. on the Pacific side, 11 a.m. on the Eastern side, and we'll be ready for you to get all of your Sunday fun day questions going. My article drops tomorrow morning for the trade analysis. Jump into that. Give me all your comments. Let's talk through these trades. These have been great to look through, giving me some more time to break them down. And of course, Matt Stiles has got his waiver article up already. Let us know how those go. Jump back into his comments as well. 90 plus comments for him last week. He got to every single one of them. Make sure you are part of that squad. Matt, any last thoughts before we go?
No, we've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. I am in so much trouble.
Busted. We're out of here, folks. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. We are out of here.